Here's Dr. Love.
Welcome to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it is my pleasure to be with you again today. I'm so excited to have my guest, Garnet Schulhauser, back with us again. He was with me on Ask Dr. Love Radio last December, and just to remind you, he is a retired lawyer who lives near Victoria on Vancouver Island with his wife, Kathy, and his little doggie, Abby. And after being a practicing corporate lawyer for over 30 years in Calgary with two blue-chip law firms, he retired in 2008, and his first book, Dancing on a Stamp, was published in 2012. Since the release of his first book, Garnet has been active with book signing tours and speaking engagements and has been a frequent guest on radio talk shows. In Dancing on a Stamp, he recounts how his life changed dramatically one day when he was confronted on the street by a homeless man named Albert, who was actually a wise spirit in disguise, an emissary from the spirit world. This seemingly chance encounter launched a provocative dialogue with Albert, who disclosed startling new truths about cycle of reincarnation on Earth and the afterlife that awaits us all. Then Garnet wrote a second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit, in which he describes his next encounter with Albert, who guided him on a series of astral adventures to visit the spirit side, the Akashic records, distant planets with fascinating life forms, and a human civilization that made the shift to the new Earth. Now in his most recent book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, Garnet continues the saga of his astral trips with Albert, who takes him to meet Gaia, the consciousness of Mother Earth, two of Earth's mythical creatures, a Sasquatch and an Irish fairy, who live in fear of humans, and a human civilization on another planet that is ruled by women. On the spirit side, he met many fascinating souls who regaled him with tales of their lives on Earth, including Moses, Jesus, and his mother Mary, Lucifer, and the goddess Athena. These trips were designed to inspire humans to appreciate the diversity of life in the universe and encourage us to love and respect one another, Mother Earth, and all the creatures who share our planet. So I just want to, without further ado, welcome Garnet Schulhauser. Are you with me?
I am. Thank you for having me on your show, Jamie.
So happy to have you back. You know, we were talking before we went on air about how we both have to have thick skins to do the work we're doing, because here both of us are respected professionals, and then we go out and we talk about connecting with spirit and astral travel. And, you know, you said to me you developed a very thick skin after your first book. And you have to keep putting the skin back on, right, every time.
Yeah, it can wear off after time. But, yeah, we excuse me, we clearly do have to develop thick skin in this sort of business, as you well know, because there are a lot of people out there who just think that when we talk about communicating with spirit that we're crazy, we've lost our minds, and it's a bunch of rubbish, you know. So you have to deal with those kinds of comments, and the best way to deal with them is just to say, okay, Mr. Skeptic, you're entitled to your opinion. You can believe whatever you want. And what I say to my skeptics is, you know, at the end of the day, when we're both dead, then we'll both know who's telling the truth.
Yeah, see you soon. It's funny because I just last weekend stayed at an Airbnb for the first time, and it was not a good experience. I actually couldn't even stay. It was dirty, and the bed was unsleepable. And so I just wrote a letter to Airbnb and asked for a credit, not knowing that it would be forwarded to the owner of the apartment, who got his feathers in a what do we say, in a ruffle? Yeah, his feathers got ruffled. His ego got bruised that I was not pleased with his place. And what he did was he proceeded to try to trash me. And he said, how can you believe a word she says? This is a woman who thinks her dead husband is communicating with her through a chipmunk.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That really hurts.
So people can be so nasty. And when I sat back and I looked at it and I thought, look at how we treat each other, which kind of connects to your book. The way people misbehave when they feel hurt, and then they convert it into anger and they go into action. Albert talks about this quite a bit, right?
Yes, he does. And that's one of the big problems we have on our planet. I mean, we have a lot of violence and crime and murders and genocide and so on, and it all stems from people who let their negative emotions flare up, who, you know, and don't keep them under control. And so, like your example of the owner of the place you stayed at, he felt hurt, and he just wanted to lash out back at you in any way he could. He wanted to hurt you back. And that happens every day in our planet, and sometimes it's on a large scale. And that's the real obstacle that the human race has to overcome, is to sort of embrace love. Now, I mean, you obviously embraced his reaction with love. You didn't sort of lash back at him. You just sort of said, okay, he's having a flare-up of anger, and it does no good for me to sort of lash back and sort of escalate the whole thing. And that's the way more humans should react, is to embrace the people that are harming him or hurting him with love. As hard as it may be, that's the solution to sort of our problems. And if we more and more humans embrace love and discarded their negative emotions, we'd be much better off on our planet.
It's really what we're talking about in shrink speak is impulse control. Just because I feel like yelling at you or punching you, I don't have to act on the impulse. And if we would just pause for a moment and say to ourselves, what can I say or do that will be helpful, not just to me, but also to the other person and our relationship and the universe at large, because obviously everything we do reverberates out energetically into the world. I had a little canary, my little canary Fluffy. One day, Fluffy was so angry at me, he started to come on an attack. His wings went out, he furrowed his brow, and he began making this sound that he made when he was ready to attack. And he's charging toward me going, hee, 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 which was rage. He gets halfway across his perch, and I see his little head snap back. And by the time he gets to the end of the perch where I'm sitting next to him, leaning my cheeks against the bar, instead of biting me and attacking me, he kissed me.
That's amazing.
I was so moved by that because I said this little bird had impulse control. He thought about it. And if a little bird with that tiny little brain, Jean said, what a miracle of miniaturization. If a bird can do it, we can do it.
Absolutely. We're certainly very capable of it, Jamie, but the real test is whether or not there's enough people out there who really want to apply that. And that's really some of the things that the messages that you and I are trying to get out to people, is that you really have to stop the impulse, the initial impulse you have to do something damaging, and instead send your love out to the other person that's in your way. And it'd be amazing how that can really help your situation, help their situation, and make the world a better place.
So talk about, this is fascinating, with when Albert took you on a trip and you visited a killer whale locked up in an aquarium, and the whale gave you a message. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
Sure. It was as you say, a killer whale, or as we say on the West Coast here, orca, who was trapped in an aquarium, like one of those concrete prisons where they have to do tricks and so on. And we communicated by telepathy. I was traveling astrally with Albert. And this killer whale was a very intelligent, sensitive, emotional creature. Much more so than humans tend to give credit for. To animals like that. And she said, it's really too bad. She said, I was born in the Pacific. I was free to roam in the blue waters and enjoy life, and then I was captured by humans, put into this concrete prison where I have to perform silly tricks for the spectators who don't seem to care about my plight. And she said, all I wanted to do is go back into the Pacific where I can roam freely. And she doesn't understand why humans would do this to her, or why humans would abuse her kin, the other whales on Earth and the dolphins and so on, who are all very sensitive, intelligent creatures. They just want to live in harmony with humans. They don't have any desire for revenge or against humans. They just want to live peacefully in harmony and in tune with nature, the way it was designed to be. And so her plea was really, can you not tell your fellow humans to please understand that we have feelings and emotions, and that we really need to be free to roam, free from being killed and hunted and trapped in nets and so on. We really want to go back to the way we lived on this planet for so many eons before humans became so dominant. And so her plea was, can you please tell people to let all of my kin out of these prisons and to stop hunting and killing us? So it was really a heartfelt plea, and it really demonstrated to me that we really have to look at animals in a much different way, because in this particular case, she was a very compassionate, very intelligent, sensitive being, equal to all humans, and in some cases even more intelligent, because they could communicate by telepathy. Many humans,
you just read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say to you, because I truly understand now that energetic communication is the language of spirit, because obviously when we all leave our bodies and we enter the afterlife or heaven, whatever you want to call it, we all had different languages in our places of origin, but here in spirit, energetic communication is a universal language. Now, the animals already are speaking that angelic heavenly language. They energetically communicate all the time.
Yes, they do, and humans aren't aware of that. But in that aspect, they're much more advanced than most humans, because we haven't learned to do that yet.
Exactly.
And someday we can get there, but we're not there yet.
And I talk about this in Love Never Dies, where I show people so many examples of my communicating energetically with animals and doing distance healings, which is sending energy, and doing hands-on healings, again, sending energy, or telepathic communications. It's all energy, and we have the ability to do it. We do it all the time, when like twins know when the other's in trouble, right, and they live on opposite ends of the world, they're energetically communicating. We have the ability to do it. We just haven't practiced the skill. We haven't learned to tune to that spirit channel in our brains, but we can do it. That's what Albert has come to say. That's what Jean wants everybody to know. You can do this. Absolutely. That's what Albert says, is that we have the ability to do that. We just need to focus on it, practice it, and eventually we'll get there. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And since Albert's been coming to you, you're better at it, I would think, right? You've gotten better. Oh, absolutely. I'm getting better, in small increments. I'm getting better and better all the time. And I'm because I'm more aware of it, and I try to focus on it, and that helps, I think. But I'm not sort of fully where the dolphins and the whales are yet. And I could do so when I'm traveling astrally, but when I'm back here on mundane planet Earth, I'm just not there yet. All right, unfortunately, mundane planet Earth says I have to take a break. I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
Ask Dr. Love is now on the Dream Vision 7 radio network every second and fourth Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, a.k.a. Ask Dr. Love, is a psychotherapist, author, love and relationship expert who offers advice and answers to your relationship questions. Hear about Dr. Love's groundbreaking new Dialoguing with the Departed technique that enables you to reconnect and make peace with a loved one. This show is for you, the listener, and Dr. Love wants to hear from you. Call 866-338-9663 or 617-237-1234.
Join Dr. Bernie Siegel on Mind Health Matters every first Sunday at 8 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Bernie will draw from his inspirational personal journey, offering us special nuggets of his sacred wisdom. Listen in as Bernie reminds us to be fully engaged in life.
Join us every first Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. for Heart Living with Dr. Cynthia Bischoff, where you'll discover life wisdom and achieve greater spiritual awareness. Through Cynthia's coaching tips, healing stories, and inspirational interviews, you'll improve your relationships, find greater balance, and achieve inner peace today. Join thousands who've transformed their lives through Heart Living. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show every first and third Sunday, 9 to 10 p.m. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. every first and third Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
In a single moment, your life can change. Join Marianne Pastana, host of Moments with Marianne, for a transformative hour of leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Tune in to experience Moments with Marianne every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. AskDrLove.com is the web's premier relationship advice site since 1995. Visit AskDrLove.com to search thousands of Dr. Love's relationship advice columns or submit a question to her free advice column. Don't be shy. Dr. Turndorf wants to help you. So take advantage of this unique opportunity to get a personal answer from one of today's most respected experts. This show is for you, the listener. So if you have a question for her, call in during the live show broadcast or catch the show every Wednesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern Time on DreamVision7Radio.com. Now, back to Dr. Love.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm talking with the wonderful Garnet Schulhauser about his latest book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss. So talk to me about your meeting with Gaia, the consciousness of Mother Earth.
Well, that was quite amazing. Albert took me we flew over the North Pole, dropped down through the water, and in a cavern beneath the North Pole, there I had a conversation with Gaia. It was the consciousness of Mother Earth, which was really quite amazing because I hadn't realized until then that our planet had a consciousness, but it does in fact, and she's a very, very wise and compassionate spirit whose job it is to look after all of her flora and fauna on Mother Earth and to make sure that everything sort of stays in nice balance so that everyone can flourish, including humans. She expressed her dismay at what has happened over the last few centuries with humans who have become very dominant on our planet and who are very abusive of her environment with our pollution. We pollute the soil and the waters and the atmosphere with all of our toxic chemicals. And this is very distressing to her because it not only does it harm our place that we live, our planet, for ourselves, but it also affects the other creatures who live on her planet. They all have to suffer through this pollution. And she said, it's really, humankind really has to wake up and change their ways, because if we continue on our current path, it could end up badly for us. And so she really wanted me to send a message back to say, look at you guys have to, curtail your abuse of me and my other creatures, and she did. Here's the surprising thing. She said that she had the power to actually fight back. She can increase the number and intensity of natural disasters on our planet, like earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, fires, and so on. And she said that she does that occasionally as a warning shot across our bow to make us wake up and pay attention and understand that if we continue on our current course, it could end up very badly for us. So it was really she has no desire for revenge against humans. She's happy to have humans live on her planet. She just wants us to be more mindful of what they're doing to the environment and what we do to the other animals that share our planet. She wants everyone to live in peace and harmony in a very balanced ecosystem, and humans are upsetting that.
That's quite a phrase, a warning shot across our bow. That's profound. These are wake-up calls. Exactly,
and she wants us to wake up, and she's hoping that by fiddling with some of these natural disasters that we will sort of sit up and say, hey, maybe these are being caused by what we're doing to our environment, and thereby realize we have to stop what we're doing. And so, that's literally what she told me, a warning shot across our bow.
Wow, that's amazing, absolutely amazing. And does she also talk about what we can do to fix the problems?
Well, not in any specific terms, other than saying, you have to stop the pollution. You have to stop poisoning my waters, my atmosphere, my soil, and how you do that is something that you're going to have to resolve for yourself, humans. I can't tell you, line by line what you need to do, but you need to really. And she acknowledged we've been making good progress lately in curtailing the abuse of her environment. But she says we have a long ways to go, and we really need to step it up. Otherwise, it's just not going to. It'll turn out very badly for us.
Very wonderful. And then you had an encounter with a Sasquatch and an Irish fairy. So what was that about?
Well, when I left the meeting with Gaia, I asked Albert, I'm surprised about that she has a consciousness, and I said, is there any other surprises on our planet that you might want to tell me about? And he says, there's all kinds of surprises. He says, I'll show you a couple. First stop was in the Pacific Northwest of North America, and there I met with a Sasquatch. Now, of course, Sasquatches are known as Bigfoot or Yeti and by various names, and people have observed them or claimed that they existed for many centuries, but nobody's been able to sort of capture one or make a definitive proof that they exist. But they do exist, and here was this lovely creature. She's about 9 feet tall. She had sort of a coarse brown hair.
Was she hairy?
Yes, brown hair covering her whole body, so sort of an ape-like head. And we communicated again by telepathy. And she says that their race has been living on Earth for eons in all the continents except Antarctica. But she says that they decided that they cannot have open contact with humans because they view us to be violent and abusive. And so they try to hide from us, which they've been doing successfully. They hide in underground caves. They come out at night. And one of the aspects that they have, not only can they communicate with each other by telepathy, but they have what she called sort of an animal-sensitive radar, which allows them to detect humans from many miles away. And so that's how they've been able to avoid being openly detected or captured by humans. And they use this to escape humans. And she lamented the fact that, much like Gaia, she said, before humans became so invasive on our planet, we had a happy existence on Earth. But now that humans have sort of taken over the whole place, and because they're abusive, we have to we're afraid of them. We have to hide because we don't want to be captured. If we were, they would probably put us on display as a freak in a circus somewhere. So they wanted to avoid that. They managed to do that. And her plea to me was, can you please do what you can to stop humans from being so violent and aggressive so that we can one day come out and openly live in peace and harmony with your race.
Oh, that is such a beautiful message. And it's interesting, as you were speaking, a beautiful little Phoebe landed right on my windowsill, and it's sitting with us in a very gentle, peaceful way, not moving, not flying away. And I was very moved by what you were saying because, look, this bird has been sitting with us for 10 minutes without moving, just sitting. And that is, to me, such a message of how we can live in harmony with each other and with the animals and with nature, that we are all one. And it's interesting, Garnet, I'm training coaches now in my transdimensional grief method, and I meet with them over the Internet every Tuesday night. And every week that we meet, my husband is coming into the meetings, and we're actually hearing him speak. And we are, seeing manifestations of his presence with lights flashing. And this past week, one of my students said that when we did a meditation and we had an out-of-body experience, all the students did astral travel, and they joined my husband in the spirit realm. And what they saw he was doing was teaching a class to his students on the other side in which he was explaining how we're all one religion. We're all one family. And it was all about the same message that Albert is bringing to you as well, how we're supposed to see each other as all one, all connected, and to dissolve these walls that separate us and that lead to so much fighting and warring. Same exact message.
Yeah, that's one of the key messages that Albert has given to me, as you know, is that we have to we can't look at each other as being separate, even though it seems to us physically we're separate, but really all part of one. We're all part of the source.
Yes.
And if you recognize that, then you're going to be reluctant to lash out at the person that you're facing, because you realize that you're sort of we're all one. So you're really lashing out at yourself. If you do that, if you realize that, then that kind of reaction will be curtailed, and you'll just sort of welcome everyone around you as being part of one, being connected to you, and that'll also mean that you will not judge other people, because it's not the place to judge people, and you don't know where they've been or where they're going. And so if you have that sort of outlook, then a lot of the violence and abuse that happens on our planet will just disappear, and that's what we need to work towards. I'm
Absolutely.
so happy to hear that your husband is doing his part on the spirit side. Of course, spirits over there they're all trying to do their best to help us humans on this planet, and your husband is certainly doing his bit.
Yes, and running classes, and we actually hear papers rustling, and we hear click, 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 click typing on the keyboard, and we all lift our hands to show nobody's touching the keyboard.
That's amazing, and it's so good that he's being able to give you these signs that he's there with you, and I think that's just beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and that bird is still with us, because the animals, as I say, are open vessels through which spirit speaks. So it's his way of saying he's never done this before on any interview that I've done on Ask Dr. Love, but it is his way of saying, I'm with you and I'm supporting you in everything you're saying. And it's really special.
Yeah, that is very special. You're very fortunate to get these very concrete signs from the spirit realm. Not everyone gets that sort of assurance, and it's really wonderful that you're getting it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things people will often say to me is, "Oh, I'm mad at you. I'm jealous of you. I don't get it." But what I notice is, as they, they work with me, they do the Love Never Dies online course, they read the book, and they just start practicing how to be more open, because they're, like we said, we're all born with the innate ability to send and receive energetic signals to and from animals and the spirit realm. With practice comes the ability to be more open, and the more open we are, the easier it is for our loved ones to come through and bring us these signs.
That's exactly right, and that's just a good course for all of us to follow. It's not so easy, when we struggle with day-to-day activities of our lives to keep that open, but it's really something we should be mindful of.
Absolutely. Oh, gosh, now we're back to Earth again. I got to take an Earth break. I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
Invite the Kids for Love Project, an enrichment program, into your school, classroom, or wellness center. Kids for Love Project is focused on teaching kids unconditional love for self and others. The project is a journey into self-discovery. It consists of fun, creative tools to learn self-love, like I choose love, I am love, I stand in love, and utilizing one's energies with reconnective healing and tuning into one's intuition for inner guidance, plus connecting to our natural surroundings. Kids who hold love for self do not bully or harm others. Let's cultivate a kinder world that holds compassion for all. Teaching the power of love to our kids is the way. To learn more or to bring Kids for Love Project to your school, contact Deborah Beauvais, 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to our Kids for Love Project on Facebook.
Join us every second Sunday at 7 p.m. for Living on Purpose with Carolyn Romano, where we explore the mysteries, meaning, and sometimes madness of life. Let's figure out together the ways we're meant to serve and become the fullest expressions of our most authentic selves. Let's figure out together how to create lives of balance, abundance, and joy. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Join the Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie every fourth Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Come explore with us natural and healthy ways to achieve inner peace, happiness, and an ever-present state of well-being. You're already healed. You just haven't realized it yet. When you're ready, you can change your mind and change your life forever. The power of a beautiful life is within you today. Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you yearn to get along better with your life partner or spouse, friends, family members, or even coworkers, Dr. Turndorf's Hay House book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, Dr. Love's 10 Simple Steps to Cooling Conflict and Rekindling Your Relationship, shows you how to turn conflict into connection for a lifetime of lasting love. Find out more about this book at AskDrLove.com. This is Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. This show is for you, the listener, and Dr. Love wants to hear from you. You can submit your questions at AskDrLove.com. Or if you're listening in real time, you can speak to Dr. Turndorf live by calling 866-338-9663. To listen live and download the free archive show, go to DreamVision7Radio.com. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Once again, here's Dr. Love.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, talking about Garnet Schulhauser's third book, Dance of Heavenly Bliss. Love hearing all the stories that you describe in the book. And another thing that was interesting was the astral trip that you took where you went to a planet with a matriarchal human society ruled by women. So I want everybody to hear what you learned.
Well, Albert took me there because I had asked him at one point whether humans existed on other planets besides Earth. And he said, oh, yeah, they're all over the place. And he said, I'll show you one. And he wanted to show me one that had sort of developed much differently from where we are right now. And it was much different indeed because it was a very sort of a modern society. They had a lot of technology. They had, flying cars and all those things that you see in science fiction movies. But it was a planet ruled by women. And the women, they had all the political offices. They had all the positions of power and authority. And the men were not allowed to assume any political office or even vote. The story behind that is that long ago they used to be a society not much different from ours, a very patriarchal society ruled by violent and abusive men who subjugated the women. And then one night, one of the ladies had a vision in a dream, in which she was told that if she went into the forest and grabbed a special kind of a plant and fed it to her husband, that it would drastically reduce his testosterone levels. And so she did that, spread the word secretly to other women, and gradually over time, as they fed this plant to the men, they became docile and compliant. They lost their aggressiveness and their propensity for violence.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah, and eventually they just sort of went into the background, and the women took over. And ever since then, they've had a very peaceful, harmonious society. They don't have wars or crime or violent conflicts. They managed to get along very well. They were ruled by an empress who's elected like every 4 years. I met with the reigning empress Marpesia, and she says they have the women who are running the planet. They do have disagreements from time to time, but they're always able to resolve them in a very friendly fashion, and so that's why there's no violence. And she says the men, they're free to pursue artistic and recreational events. They can have a very happy life. They're not abused or subjugated. They're just left free to sort of do whatever they want to enjoy life. And they don't miss their sex drive, she says, because they never remembered having it. And so in the modern society, all males are sterilized at the age of 3, except for a few that are kept for a sperm bank. And so she says that's how we run our society, and it seemed to work very well. I said to Albert as we left, it would be nice if there was a happy middle ground between
absolutely right
between the extremes of that society and the extremes of our society, where men and women could live equally together and share responsibility. And so
absolutely, because it sounds like this civilization is a rebound operation. So we're sick of being dominated by patriarchal society, so we're going to basically castrate you guys, and you'll be under our rule, which is the same imbalance. If you think about it, it's just in the opposite. So what you're saying, the evolution is embrace both.
Yeah, they're 180 degrees from where we are, and neither extreme is particularly good. So we need to find a middle ground, and so that was the message there. He just wanted to show me how human civilization can develop very differently, and that was clearly one that was very different, but not one that it would be fine for females, not so good for the males, which is the opposite of what happens on our planet. So we need to find a happy middle ground.
Yeah, it's instructive more than anything else.
Yeah, he wanted to open my eyes to what else is going on in the universe, and it was an eye opener. And I said to him, as I was leaving, I said, "Has this civilization ever visited our planet?" And he says, "No, they can't travel between the stars yet." And I said, "Good. I was hoping I didn't have to run back and warn all the men, lest we all begin singing like the Vienna Boys Choir."
Yeah, right. Cover your drawers, boys. That's crazy. But the thing is, the fact that you're open to all of this. They say that the happiest marital relationships are between men who are androgynous and women, right? That is, when we're talking about traditional marriage, the androgynous male supposedly makes the best husband. So I said this to one guy, and he thought I meant that he had to be castrated to be androgynous. But that's not true, obviously. You could just be more equally blended male and female traits. And they say the most evolved spiritual beings have an equal blend of male and female.
Yeah, I've heard that before too, and there's no doubt a lot of truth to that. In fact, on the spirit side, which is our true home, Jamie, as you know, we don't have a gender. It's not men and male and female. We can appear to others as males or females, but in reality, there are no genders on the spirit side. We're just beings of energy, and genders are things that just happen on the physical plane, like Earth.
Right, and it's interesting because you said something in the book that I thought was really fascinating. You described, and this matches what Jean said, you return to source when you leave your body, and then you are all part of the source, God, whatever you want to call it. But each being is still a separate ray, You use the metaphor of the sun.
Yes.
And each is a separate ray, but we're all still one with Source when we leave our bodies.
Yeah, no, that's very true. But we retain our individual personalities, so that we're not just sort of all homogeneous. We actually retain our memories from all of our lives, and everyone's path is much different. So there's no two journeys the same, and so we've all had different past lives. We've all been to different planets, and so we retain all those memories. But we're still part of the source, so we're sort of individual aspects of the source, but still remaining as part of the source, which is not easy for humans to understand. But that's just that's the way that Albert could describe it to me.
Yeah, I guess I kind of like the image of a prism. So if you want to think of the prism as the source, but then there are many facets of the prism that reflect or refract light, and so it's all one unit. But each facet is separate and different and refracts differently. I think that metaphor would explain it.
Yeah, I think it does. It's a good explanation. I think that, if you don't mind, maybe I'll quote you in my next book to try to get that concept across to people, because I think it's a good metaphor.
Good. So now, talk about the Akashic Records, because you said you saw the building of Stonehenge, and it was built with visitors from the stars. So what was that visit about?
Well, the Akashic Records, as you know, have we record the history of every life that's ever been lived anywhere in the universe. And so at this particular time, Albert took me back to a life I had as a Druid priest on the Salisbury Plain about 3000 BC in England. And there, in my life, in that time, I had a dream, a vision one night where a spirit told me to go to a certain part of the plain the next morning because I'd be greeted by a visitor from the stars. And so I did. I watched the spaceship sort of land nearby, and out popped a human. It was human in every respect, except he was about 8 feet tall. His name was Mogons, and he came to me and he said to me that he wanted me to enlist the help of the villagers in the nearby village to build a structure. The structure was to be a cosmic beacon, is what he said, a cosmic beacon that would assist space travelers navigate when they were in warp drive. And he had carefully chosen location. He had a very detailed plans which he unfurled in a parchment. And I got the villagers to come and help. I told them that this guy was a god from the stars, and he wanted our help. And I told them they were going to build a temple. So anyway, following his instructions, and with help from some of his high-tech gadgets, which were like a laser cutting tool and a anti-gravity wand, they were able to cut these stones from a quarry many miles away from the plane, transport them with this anti-gravity wand, put them in place in accordance with these instructions, and that was what we now know as Stonehenge, and what we see now is what's left of it. When the structure was built, he put a power box in the center, which basically made the whole thing functional, and then he left. And then I saw in the Akashic Records that a couple centuries later, he came back, retrieved the power box because that beacon was no longer needed, and what he left was the stones that now form Stonehenge. So it was really an interesting insight as to how, people have been speculating for centuries, like how did these primitive people 3,000 or 5,000 years ago, how did they manage to cut these stones and transport them many miles, put them in place, because they're very large stones. So that was the answer, which basically, as Albert says, this is to show you that you can do almost anything if you get a little help from friends from the stars. And so that was an example of one of the structures that have been around for a long time on Earth. He didn't show me how the pyramids were built or any of the other ancient structures that we have on our planet, but I surmise that probably there was some help from visitors from the stars as well.
Interesting. And you also had a meeting with Jesus Christ and Adolf Hitler on one of your astral
that
travels.
That was an amazing adventure. This was on the spirit side, and Albert said to me one day, he says, I'm going to take you to meet a couple of people who are really polar opposites. One was a paragon of virtue, and the other one was an evil monster. And I couldn't for the life of me who I was going to meet. When I got there, I saw it was Jesus Christ sitting on a bench talking to Adolf Hitler. And as soon as I was introduced to them, the soul that was Adolf Hitler in his last life, his name was Matthew. He morphed back into his natural appearance on the spirit side, which was a handsome young man. He told me he had lived his last life as Adolf Hitler. He told me that his evil deeds had not been pre-planned. They resulted from his negative emotions, anger and fear and hate and lust for power getting out of control. And he says things just, my emotions totally got out of control, and I did all the horrible things that I did. He was very sorry for it. But he said, once he's crossed back over, he had his life review. He learned a lot from that, and he has since met with many of the victims of his death camps, and there's been total reconciliation because all souls on the spirit side unconditionally love each other no matter what they did to each other on earth. And so that's
beautiful. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
Ask Dr. Love is now on the Dream Vision 7 radio network every second and fourth Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, a.k.a. Ask Dr. Love, is a psychotherapist, author, love and relationship expert who offers advice and answers to your relationship questions. Hear about Dr. Love's groundbreaking new Dialoguing with the Departed technique that enables you to reconnect and make peace with a loved one. This show is for you, the listener, and Dr. Love wants to hear from you. Call 866-338-9663 or 617-237-1234.
Life. We can either be bystanders or creators. Now is the time to awaken to your divine identity and the power of the I Am within. To create a joyous and fulfilled life, no matter what your circumstances are. There are answers to life's big questions, and there is a spiritual path that leads to soul liberation and ascension. Join us every third Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Prophets for the New Age with Carl and Nancy Schulhauser on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. What if everything that you've been taught about who you are and what life is has been untrue? Join Deborah Laval, host of Living in Quantum Love, where she'll explore and dissect the limiting beliefs and wrong understandings that have only served to keep us not only separate from one another, but from our own selves. Living in Quantum Love can be heard every third Sunday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Join Deborah and take a leap to freedom.
The goal of the Jesse Lewis Choose Love Foundation is to cultivate a more peaceful world by creating awareness that we can choose love. By providing tools for our children and communities, we can enable them to develop a healthy level of optimism that leads to resilience. Our mission is to give people the understanding that they can choose love by living a life with gratitude, having the ability to forgive, and to be compassionate. This is a proactive effort towards mental health that'll provide children and adults with the perspective and wisdom they need to be able to navigate through life in a happy, fulfilled, and meaningful way. Our website is jesselewischooselove.org.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you or someone you know has lost a loved one, Dr. Turndorf's best-selling Hay House book, Love Never Dies, How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased, presents her groundbreaking new trans-dimensional grief therapy method, which offers the first vehicle in history for reconnecting and making peace with the deceased. Sign up for Dr. Love's free newsletter at AskDrLove.com.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf talking with Garnet Schulhauser about Dance of Heavenly Bliss. I love what you said just before we took the break. Everyone needs to always be reminded that there's peace and reconciliation on the other side. And even Adolf Hitler was
even
able
Adolf
to make
Hitler
peace with his victims.
Was forgiven by his victims. So that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, Jamie, but that's the reality of on the other side. So even if you're murdered on the earth plane, when you get back to the other side, there's total forgiveness and reconciliation for your perpetrator, and there's no punishment, there's no you don't go to a bad place no matter what you did here. Everyone goes to the same place, and there's nothing but total love there. And so then, as to continue on with that meeting with it was Jesus and Hitler. Then I spoke to Jesus, and he said that he was a master soul who had come to Earth, 2,000 years ago, to try to help humanity find the path to spiritual enlightenment. And he said that because he was a master, he had learned how to focus his thoughts into powerful beams of energy. And that is how he created his miracles that are described in the Bible, like walking on water, turning water into wine, raising people from the dead. He was a master soul who could focus his thoughts into doing those things, and he did that for the purpose of trying to better humanity. And he said that he assumed that he hoped that his message would continue to be spread and heard by humans after he departed, but he didn't know quite how it would all develop, and he didn't know how the Christian church would develop. And he thinks it's done a lot of good things, but he knows it's gone off track in a lot of ways, but he said that's just the way things unfold. So that was his role on the planet. He said that he and Adolf Hitler, they meet regularly to have a very friendly conversation. And he said this is to demonstrate that this is how things operate on the spirit side. So the good people and the bad people all end up in the same place, and they all reconcile their previous differences that they had on the planet.
That's so wonderful. And what happened when you met one of your guardian angels? What did you find out?
Well, she was a very beautiful person. She showed herself to be as a female, very strikingly beautiful, stunningly beautiful person. She said to me, "I'm one of your guardian angels. I've been with you since you were born." And I had sort of been aware before that I was aware of guardian angels. Didn't know if I had one. She says, "Yes, I'm yours. Everyone has at least one." She said it's her job to watch over and protect me and to make sure that I don't suffer an untimely demise. And she says, as Albert had told me before, no one dies by accident on Earth. We die when our souls are ready to leave the incarnation. So she says because there's all these humans running around on this planet with free will, and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing or what they had planned beforehand, she says it's very often likely that something may come up that your soul doesn't foresee, which could end up in your physical body being killed. She says that's where I step in. I prevent an untimely death to make sure that your soul has the ultimate decision as to when you leave. And I said to her, well, you must have been very busy in my case because I don't remember any close calls that you saved me from. Mm-hmm. And she just laughed and said, yes, I've saved your bacon so many times I've lost count. And then she relayed a couple instances to me, which when she reminded me of them, I realized that, I had thought at the time I had just been lucky to escape death or tragedy. I realize now that she had played a hand in that, and she actually saved me. And so many people many people have had experiences where they escape death by something that seems like divine intervention, and they're not quite sure where it comes from. Well, it's coming from the guardian angels who are there to make sure that they don't end their lives before their soul's ready to go. So very interesting.
Right, because we each have, like you said, a life plan, and you know how they'll say in the Jewish faith, it's written in the big book the day that you're supposed to leave your body. So if something goes awry and you're about to leave your body when it's not part of your life plan, the angel steps in and helps you. I have an example of this from a little boy who came to therapy with me, and he said that his grandpa left his body a week before, and then he was driving in the back seat with his mom and dad in front, and he had removed his seatbelt, and the next thing you know, there's a car accident, and he starts careening forward, and he's about to go through. He sees he's going to go through the windshield, and he feels his grandpa grab him and pull him back into his seat. So his grandpa left his body in order to save this little boy, and it was like the grandpa knew he was going to have to be in spirit as his guardian angel to save him. It's a profound example of both their life plans.
That's an amazing story. Yeah, that's quite an amazing story, and it just demonstrates exactly what my guardian angel was saying, is that
right?
You know, the spirit, whether it be angels or other spirits, they will be there to save you from an untimely death, because they want to preserve the right of your soul to leave when it's ready to go, when it's destined to go, and not before then. So it's really nice to know that these spirits are watching over us and protecting us all the time. You know, and I said to Albert then, or I said to my guardian angel, well, what happens when somebody dies in a car accident? Does it mean that her guardian angel was asleep at the switch? She says, no,
it was your time.
It was time to go. It was time for that soul to leave.
That was your time.
Yeah.
That's what people said to me about Jean. When he was a young Jesuit priest, he had a vision of his dying young as in an accident. And so the year leading up to our going to Italy, we both started getting private premonitions that he was going to leave his body due to an accident. We didn't know when or where. And then we go to Italy, and of course the bee gets him. So people had said to me, well, if you hadn't gone to Italy, then he wouldn't have left his body. And I said, no, then it would have been a bus. You know, he would have stepped off the curb and, you know, been hit by it. When your number's up, it's up.
Absolutely, yes. And it's all planned by your soul, you know, beforehand. Yeah. And, you know, that's the way it has to play out. And
that's how come he knew. And we knew, because it was written. We knew ahead of time. He knew when he was a young Jesuit. So, you know, it's funny, when I was reading this book, and I love your writing because it reads like a novel, a mystery novel. And I love how you groan, like, not again, don't make me write another book. And I was thinking, but Garnet, you have free will. You don't have to write another book, but you do, because it's your calling. That's your life plan, to write another book. So we only have a couple minutes left. Let everybody know what's coming for you and, of course, how to find you.
Okay, well, book 4 is in the works. I finished the manuscript in early July, sent it to my publisher, and so if they choose to publish it, it'll be released sometime in 2017. Its title is Dance of Eternal Rapture. So that'll be, I'll post updates on the publishing schedule on my website and Facebook pages. People can reach me. Best way is to go to my website, which is garnetschulhauser.com. That's hard to remember, but if you Google Dancing on a Stamp or Dance of Heavenly Bliss, you'll get to my website. My email address is there. I welcome comments and questions from your listeners, and there's links to all my social media sites there, excerpts from all my books, and buy links to all the popular online stores where you can click on it and get to a place where you can buy my books. So I'd love
Buddy, because I think people would like to know, how'd you come up with the title for this book?
Oh, that was one of the most exciting things that happened to me. It was on the spirit side, I was introduced to a soul named Votan, who he and I had previous incarnations together before, once back in Mayan times when he was a male and I was a female. He then, to my surprise, he just suddenly stepped into me, and our energy bodies sort of merged temporarily for a few very ecstatic, exhilarating moments. It was sheer joyful union where when our atoms literally merged together, and then he stepped back, and it was a wonderful experience. And he said to me, "You have just enjoyed the dance of heavenly bliss." He said that's a dance that the souls and the spirit side do openly, frequently to each other, and it's just a way of expressing they love the love that they have for other souls. So it was an amazing experience, and that was where the book title came from.
Well, whenever you're with me, it is the dance of heavenly bliss. I love being with you, Garnet.
Well, I love being on your show, Jamie. You're a wonderful host, and it's really nice to be able to have a conversation with you with another very like-minded person who's had a very intimate connection to spirit.
Oh, yes. So we'll continue our dance, and that's all I have for you now. Just stay open. Your loved ones are all around you. They're coming to you to guide you, to bring you healing in body, mind, spirit, emotion, in every way. So just continue your dance of heavenly bliss, and see you next time on Ask Dr. Love Radio.
This has been Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Visit Dr. Turndorf at AskDrLove.com. Follow her on Twitter at AskDrLove and on